Joining us now to break down the remaining Republican efforts in the 2020 election cycle is Liz Harrington, the national spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. So Liz, we know that right now the Trump campaign is really pushing forward in order to prepare for these upcoming lawsuits. We know we're getting a recount in Georgia as well. What is the Republican Party doing right now in preparation for those events?
We're gathering a lot of evidence, and the proof is already there. I mean, we've seen it before our very eyes. All of this corruption after election night, when President Trump was up by really insurmountable margins. And so, what we found in state after state where Democrats needed to catch up to prop up Joe Biden, we've had brave whistleblowers coming forward, signing affidavits. We have over 500 now in places like Detroit, in places like Pennsylvania and Allegheny County. Also, we have legal activities going on in Clark County, Nevada, because there's a lot of corruption going on in all of these places where they stopped the count. So our strategy going forward is to make sure that no American is disenfranchised by this illegal and fraudulent activity. We're making sure that every legal vote counts, and we're making sure that our case in front of these different courts will shine sunlight on these operations. You've got irregularities with the software programs that Democrats, for whatever reason, do not want to take a second look at all these counties in Michigan. So if you already have one county, Antrim County, where 6,000 votes were switched from Republican to Democrat, and they said it was just a user error, well, why not take a second look at the 47 other counties and the other swing states that use the same exact software? We've already seen the same problem, the so-called glitch in Georgia. Again, the onus is on the Democrats, because if they're going to claim that this was a miraculous comeback for Joe Biden, they should be proud of that. And they should be welcoming oversight and sunlight to that miraculous victory. Well, the truth is it was not. President Trump won this election, and we're going to prove it in court.
And Liz, the Republicans have been talking about allegations of voter fraud, not just during this election cycle. I think that's important for people to know. This isn't something that all of a sudden it's being pulled out of the back pocket as a last-ditch effort or anything like that. There is allegations of voter fraud, and there have been in basically every single election. It's just a matter of how widespread it is, how targeted it is. And now it seems like these races are close enough where perhaps it is enough in order to change the results one way or the other. So should people be looking beyond this race within itself and maybe pushing some Republican lawmakers to make sure that voter fraud is addressed in future litigation, whether it's ID requirements, signatures, things of that nature that maybe go beyond the 2020 race?
Absolutely. This is about more than just one election. This is about our constitutional republic here and free and fair elections. And this is why we were sounding the alarm all year long with the mail-in ballot schemes. It was so obvious. It wasn't about safety. Tell that to all those leftists in the streets. They don't care about the coronavirus. It wasn't about that. It was about being able to manipulate the system. And everyone used to agree that mail-in ballots, absentee voting, was the most prone to fraud. And we've had case after case throughout the years, but we've never seen it on this scale because it's never been tried on this scale. And now we have allegations, not only sworn affidavits, that's called evidence, of election workers backdating ballots that came in after election day. That is fraud. That is knowing how many ballots you need to close the gap when you're losing an election, and then backdating new ballots that came in after the election day to count for your candidate. We should, every single American, regardless of party, should want to look at this. And that's why we're fighting so hard, because this is about more than just one election. This is about efforts to steal an election in broad daylight. And again, we've had illegal counting of all these ballots after Election Day in Pennsylvania. They bypassed the state legislature, which constitutionally the requirement for any election is left up to the state legislature. So this is a big deal, and it's unconstitutional what's going on here. And it's not just the software. It's not just postal workers coming forward. It's not just vans of Biden-Harris ballots showing up in Clark County, Nevada. We are getting to the bottom of this because we have to.
And so right now, all eyes, for example, are shifting onto the state of Georgia, not only for the presidential race, but it's going to dictate who has Senate control as well. And in the event of a Biden administration, for example, that's almost just as big for Republicans in order to making sure that they can't push through some of these progressive ideas or perhaps some of the judicial nominations that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has really built his legacy on as well. So as we look to Georgia, we know Democrats are going to put in millions of dollars into that race, probably a record-setting amount, to be completely honest. Those two races, I should say. What is the Republican Party doing in anticipation about that? Is it about funds? Is it about infrastructure? Or is it exactly what you're saying, making sure that the vote count is accurate?
It's about election integrity because we know our ideas win. We know we had a red wave last Tuesday. We know we had at least 10, we're looking at maybe 12 House seats that we picked up. I mean, you're talking about South Carolina races where that wasn't even close, but you had fraudulent polls propping up their left wing candidate. You'll have the same thing here. You'll have, false polls. You'll have money flooding in. But guess what? We're going to get our ideas out there. We're going to prove our case. We have better candidates. And we also have better ideas. And we've been very clear. Look exactly what Joe Biden's talking about. They're pretending he's president-elect and he's already going to shut down the country for 4 to 6 weeks. This is exactly what we said would happen. But good thing the big media propaganda machine does not elect presidents. The American people do, casting legal votes. That's why we'll win these Senate races in Georgia. And that's why we'll win the state of Georgia and these other states with these recounts.
And, I just saw someone on Twitter, for example, the other day say, whoa, if I would have known that Joe Biden favored lockdowns, I might not have voted for him on November 3rd. And I think that tells you all you really need to know about where the media stands with this, because if you're not going to scrutinize the candidates, you're not informing the American people in the right way. And I think that is one silver lining that came out of perhaps all of this, is that people are willing to see now what exactly the media is doing. They are recognizing the bias a little bit more. And I think people are starting to look up information for themselves more so. So I think that is a silver lining in all this, but I know there's a lot of fighting still yet to be done. Liz Harrington, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight, breaking down where the RNC stands in regard to these races. Thank you.